Okay, hi. Let's do something together. I'd like to ask you to try imagine walking around in your neighborhoods back at home. Okay? Where is your favorite grocery store? You're walking towards it now. And then to your kids' or grandkids' favorite playground. Now, try to estimate, on a typical walk, how many individuals from minority groups you would encounter along the way. And if you're anything like me, or the vast majority of our participants, you're overestimating this percentage, and yes, even if you yourself belong to this minority group. Now, forgot to. Why would I say this? Because one of the basic principles of cognitive science is that our minds are tuned towards what is uncommon or unexpected. If we see a green tree with a few red apples, those red apples will stand out to us. We're going to be likely to notice them. Memory works the same. If something unexpected occurs, we're going to be more likely to remember that event. And this is what cognitive psychologists call salience, our mind's basic tuning, tendency to highlight what is uncommon or unexpected. Now, let's think about our social worlds. Go back to the neighborhoods. Individuals from minority groups are, by definition, exactly that. They are less common. And in many situations, they are also unexpected. That's why, in our work, we suggest that minorities are salient in our minds. We are more likely to notice seeing them, and we are more likely to remember seeing them. And as a result, we'll end up overestimating their prevalences in our environments, which basically creates an illusion of diversity. When we think about our neighborhoods, our workplaces, and our campuses, we're going to be more likely to think that they are more diverse than they truly are. So, the first thing we did in order to test this idea was to go to students here at the Hebrew University and ask them something very similar to what I just asked you. We simply asked them to try to estimate the percentage of Palestinian students studying at the Hebrew University. And we did this both with Jewish students and with Palestinian students, those who themselves belong to the minority group. And here's what we saw. So the real percentage back then when we ran the study was around 10%. And when we asked Jewish participants to try to estimate this prevalence, we get an average of 32%. That's 3 times as many. And when we ask Palestinian students to estimate this as well, we get something very similar. And to tell you the truth, we were expecting an overestimation, but 3 times as many seemed like a lot. We could not believe our results, and we ran these studies 3 times in order to make sure. So what we did was to try to understand how is our mind doing this. What are the cognitive processes that are making us overestimate the percentage of minorities in our environments and basically think that our environments are more diverse than they truly are? And to do this, we designed a new paradigm. And these studies we ran in the United States, both on white American participants and black American participants. And this is how the paradigm looks. Okay, so we made these matrices. And in these matrices, we could set in advance the percentage of individuals from minority groups participants see in a study. And for example, in this study, participants see many of these matrices, and we set the percentage to be 25%. And at the end of the study, we tell them, say, out of all the pictures you've seen throughout the study, how many were Black American? And what we got is that while the real percentage is 25%, first, white participants estimate this to be 43%. We also asked them to try to estimate the percentage of white people they saw. And the real percentage is 75%. They think it's 56. So while 1/4 of the faces they saw was Black American, they thought it was half. And what happens when we ask Black participants to do this exact same study? We get basically the same result. So now, using this paradigm, we could test, how is our mind doing this? Where in the cognitive system is it happening? Is it perception? Is it because we are more likely to notice individuals from minority groups while we are walking around an environment? And the answer seems yes. We also asked, is this memory? Is it also because we are more likely to remember seeing individuals from minority groups? And the answer seems to be also yes. And the last thing we tested, and this is important, is social knowledge. Our social knowledge is basically our understanding of the structure of our societies. We have a lot of information that, because we are very experienced in our societies, we know which groups we would expect to see in which places. And having individuals from minority groups defies these expectations also makes them salient. So this also plays a role. And what we see is that minorities are salient not only because they are less frequent, but also because they are unexpected. Okay, so we think that our environments are more diverse than they truly are. But the question that arises here is, okay, so does this matter? Does this actually change our opinions, our social attitudes? And to test this, we ran this study. We showed participants these matrices again, but this time we told them these are students in an American college, in a small American college. And we set the percentage of Black people to be 5% of the faces. In the other condition, we did not show them these pictures. We simply told them that there is this American college and 5% of the students are Black Americans. And what we see is that in this condition, participants think that 15% of the students are Black Americans, so again, 3 times as many. And they were also much less likely to support diversity-promoting policies. So this basic perception that our environments are more diverse than they truly are is consequential on our attitudes and on our opinions. Now, finally, the last question that I think everybody in the room must be wondering is this happening to me? And I think the answer, and I'm sorry to say, probably yes, and to me as well. I've already told you that in all our experiments, we tested participants from the majority group and participants who themselves belong to the minority group, and we get the same results. But across all our studies, we also asked participants whether they are liberal or conservative, how they feel about this minority group, whether they perceive it as threatening, and many other variables. And what we see is that none of these matters. Minority salience is something that's likely to be happening to anyone. In fact, across tens of studies and over 1,000 participants, we see that 83% of participants show the minority salience effect. So this is something that's probably happening to most of us most of the time. So what can we do about it? And I thought a lot about this, and I think the answer divides into 2 parts. First, if you're ever in a water cooler conversation or a dinner party, and somebody says, most of the new hires at my organization are diversity hires, you should say, are you sure? Let's count. And you're probably going to be right. But also, if you're a decision maker, and I assume many of you in this room are, it is very important to base decisions on the actual prevalences and not on our perceptions of these prevalences, because our perceptions are biased. And also, it's very important to make those numbers readily available for the public, because when they are not available, this basic cognitive bias that's stemming from the basic architecture of our cognitive system is going to bias public opinions. And that's it. Thank you so much. If you'd like to read more about our work, you can simply scan this page and feel free to reach out to me. Thank you so much.